But getting to some other news now, Ukraine has agreed to a ceasefire proposal put forward by the United States. Officials from Kyiv and Washington have met in Saudi Arabia to discuss a possible path to peace. Now, it also includes a resumption of US aid and intelligence sharing to Ukraine. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says it's now up to Russia to accept the ceasefire.
There is much at stake, and as the American and Ukrainian delegations walked into the conference room side by side, the mood was clearly focused. Around this table, they were hoping to make history by formulating a plan to end the war Russia started in Ukraine.
Secretary Rubio, Sky News. Do you think you'll get a ceasefire?
No answer to that question before we were ushered out and the negotiations began. And after hours of talks, the US team finally emerged after sundown to announce an agreement on a proposed immediate 30-day ceasefire.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable.
The Ukrainian delegation today made something very clear, that they share President Trump's vision for peace. They share his determination to end the fighting, to end the killing.
The Ukrainian team described the talks as constructive, with President Zelensky later saying on social media, the American side understands our arguments. But as the delegates left the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, where they'd been hosted by the Saudi government, they knew there were still plenty of issues that needed to be resolved, and they also need Russia to agree. Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected to fly to Moscow later this week. It's reported he'll meet Russia's president, Vladimir Putin. Here in Jeddah, the Ukrainians wanted to mend relations after that now infamous diplomatic spat in the Oval Office and see the restoration of military aid and intelligence sharing. For the Americans, they wanted to see that the Ukrainians were prepared and willing to make tough decisions to bring about peace. And on both those counts, the talks appear to have been a diplomatic success. It was lost on no one, though, that the talks took place as Russia and Ukraine continued to trade blows using the language of violence. Ukraine launching a massive drone attack in the early hours on the Moscow region. And despite more than 3 years of fighting, the Kremlin has signalled its war objectives remain the same. No concessions. But officials say they are waiting to hear from the US the details of the discussions. The Russians, too, have been launching new attacks. This was the port city of Odessa, once again in flames. The Trump administration may want to put out the fires of this war quickly, but reaching an agreement will take time. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Jeddah.